Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Becerra, and I'm the new Sustainability Director for the town of Acton. This week officially marks 3 months with the town. Welcome to the presentation about Acton Power Choice, APC. APC is an electricity aggregation program vetted by the town of Acton for residents and businesses. Deborah Symes and Jim Snyder Grant will be leading this presentation, and Deborah Symes is president of Green Acton. Jim is also the select board member for the town of Acton. Green Acton is a local nonprofit that works to protect and enhance Acton's natural environment and resources for future generations. And we've partnered with them today to bring you this event. As a heads up, the event is being recorded. So we thank ActonTV for offering to house this video in their YouTube channel. Please feel free to type your questions during the presentation and we'll get to them at the end. We've also included some information in the chat for you to go ahead and look at either now or after, hopefully after the presentation, after you've heard the amazing presentation. And we also ask that you keep your mics muted. So without further ado, I pass the mic to Deborah and Jim. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea. Welcome everyone to this primer on the Acton Power Choice program, which we'll refer to as APC, with a special focus on its green option. I'm Jim Snyder Grant.
And I'm Deborah Symes.
We're both longtime members of Green Acton and its Energy Committee. This slide presentation is an introduction to this Town of Acton program that can deliver electricity, including 100% renewable power, to your home or business or other building in Acton. As we move through the presentation, which should take about 20 minutes or less, please jot down any questions you may have so we can get to them at the end of the slideshow.
So what the heck is APC? Way back in 2017, Acton Town Meeting voted to create a community choice aggregation program. That's the name the state gives to this kind of bulk buying program that municipalities can operate. The town, with some help from its consultant and a bit from Green Acton, designed the program structure and entered into a contract with an electricity aggregator that offered good rates. The current 3-year contract, as Jim was saying earlier, is with Constellation Energy and extends through September of 2022. Acton Power Choice has 3 levels of participation: green, standard, and basic. Most residents and businesses are auto-enrolled in the standard option, sometimes called the default level. Program participants can change options at any time. On this slide, are we there? Yeah, we are. I want to make sure I'm in the same slide you are. On this slide, you can see the 3 program options. Note that each one shows the percentage of its electricity that comes from renewable generation projects, such as wind, solar, and low impact hydropower, as well as the supply cost for that electricity, which is expressed as cents per kilowatt hour. So you have to do some math. A tiny bit of inside baseball is this: the state requires a certain portion of electricity supply delivered to consumers to be from renewable sources. This amount is called the Renewable Portfolio Standard, or RPS, and increases slightly every year. Currently, the RPS is 18%. APC Basic provides that amount of renewable supply, as does Eversource Basic. APC Standard provides an additional 10% renewable above RPS for a total of 28%. And APC Green provides 82% above RPS for a total of 100% renewable electricity supply. So how does this whole thing work? One basic thing to know is that in Massachusetts, our local utility delivers electricity to our homes and buildings, but the supply of that electricity can come from any number of entities. In Acton, that might be Eversource, it might be the APC supplier Constellation, might be a nonprofit or a private company with whom the consumer may have contracted for electricity. But no matter from whom you purchase your electricity, here in Acton, Eversource will always deliver that electricity, send the monthly bills, and handle any problems, including outages. Many people want to know what their monthly bill might look like with APC. We'll cover that soon and look at the price history of the program. But be assured that APC rates are very competitive with, and sometimes cheaper than, those of Eversource and other suppliers. And the Department of Public Utilities requires us to say now that future savings with APC cannot be guaranteed.
Why would you choose APC Green? When you opt up to green, your electricity sourcing will switch to 100% renewable generation from projects in the Northeast. That electricity will generate 0 greenhouse gas emissions and contribute to the critical reductions we all need to be making to address our climate emergency. Being a part of green also means you're helping build the renewable energy sector in our region. Now, there are a bunch of reasons to participate in Acton Power Choice. It is, as you see here, reliable, vetted, and environmentally excellent, and more, as you'll see in the next slide. APC also has multiple economic benefits, both for individuals and for communities. Good rates, stability, and regional investment.
We all want to know about costs. These sample monthly costs in the slide you're looking at are based on current rates and on average Acton household electricity usage back in December of 2020. You can see that for the average household, APC Green costs roughly $11 a month more than the standard option and less than $6 more than Eversource Basic. We encourage you, when you're thinking about this, to consider not only the supply cost of each option, but also the environmental value of each. APC Green offers a big environmental bang for a relatively small buck. You can opt up to green for a minor bump in cost compared with APC standard, less than 1/7 of a cent per kilowatt hour. For the average household, as we said before, APC Green costs about $11 a month more than standard and brings household electricity emissions to 0. Gonna say that again, 0. Every person and household can have an impact on mitigating our climate emergency, and APC Green is a very effective tool. In this slide, we've set out the annual carbon footprint from electricity for the average Acton household. That's 4,000 pounds of CO2. That's the equivalent of driving your car 4,500 miles. On the other hand, with APC Green, that entire load of carbon, the equivalent of the carbon sequestered in a year by 2.5 acres of forest, is kept out of the atmosphere. Since the start of the program in 2017, APC has reduced Acton's carbon emissions significantly. As of December 2020, it kept 14.5 million pounds of carbon out of the atmosphere. Based on a recent report we've just gotten, by the end of February 2021, that rose to 15.5 million pounds. But you'll note something important in this slide. APC Green, to which only 3% of APC participants are currently subscribed, is responsible for a whopping 20% of that savings. We want that 3% to grow by a lot. So we encourage you to opt up to this greenest electricity and make those carbon savings even bigger.
You may have questions. Let's run through a few common ones and we can answer others at the end of the presentation. So first, to be clear, once you're in the APC program, you can opt up or down anytime you want. Of course, most people in town were auto-enrolled when the program started in 2017, but some may not even realize it. How do you know if you're enrolled and at which level? The next 2 slides will help you figure that out. You can easily confirm that you're in the APC program by looking on this panel of a sample Eversource bill at the information in the blue ovals in the lower right. If you're in the program, it will say Constellation New Energy. Your electric supplier is Constellation New Energy. If you don't see that, you're not currently enrolled in APC, but you can easily sign up, and we'll show you how at the end. If you see Eversource there, you're still getting your electricity supply from Eversource. And if you see another name entirely, you're getting your electricity from another supplier. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. Now to determine which option you're in. and this is way more difficult than it should be. On this panel of the bill, you can confirm the option at which you're enrolled. Look at the rate that's in the small blue oval. The small chart at the right helps you know what the rate means. Eversource lists prices in dollars. So if you see 0.12671, as there is in this bill, that's a bit more than 12.5 cents per kilowatt hour. If you see that number on your bill, you're in APC green. And as the chart shows, if you see 10985, you're in the standard level. And if your bill shows 10741, you've previously opted down to the basic level. Yeah, we wish this was easier to decode, and no, Acton doesn't have any control over how the bill is laid out. Final reminder, you can change options at any time.
Another question you might have, can accounts that aren't residential participate in APC? And the answer is that any household or small or large business or organization in Acton can participate in the program and can opt up to APC Green. As we mentioned just before, if the supplier listed on your bill is neither Constellation nor Eversource, you're getting your electricity from another, likely private supplier. If that's the case and you want to sign up for APC, it's important to check out whether your contract allows you to leave without penalty or imposes a penalty for early withdrawal. And if it does impose a penalty, whether it's worth it to you to leave and join APC Green. Many people, of course, want to know, will this save me money? And the answer is, it depends. There are a number of moving parts that affect the answer, including which program option you're in and to what you're comparing that rate. But remember that APC rates remain unchanged through September 2022, whereas Eversource supply rates change twice a year. It should also be noted that Eversource delivery charges change at what appear to be random intervals, so no predictions there. As we look at the next slide, we can see some historic price comparisons. You can see the price history of the program here. The green line represents APC Green, oddly enough, and the red line, the standard option. Midway at September 2019, you'll see the move from the first contract period to the second, at which point the basic option, shown by the blue line, was added. Eversource is represented by the brown line. All the APC rates are the same throughout the term of the contract. They don't change. You can see that there is a fair amount of volatility in the Eversource basic supply rate. Again, the brown line. This happens because of its biannual price change. The January through June rate for Eversource basic is typically higher than the July through December rate. This chart shows that the Eversource basic rate has generally been higher than the APC standard rate. And you can also see that for a couple of periods, and I love this, APC Green has been cheaper than Eversource Basic.
Okay, we've used the phrase Class 1 REC, and now it's time to explain what that is. APC Green purchases renewable electricity via Massachusetts Class 1 RECs, which means renewable energy certificates, from wind, solar, and low-impact hydro generation projects in the Northeast that meet certain requirements. These mean, importantly, that hydro projects have minimal environmental and ecosystem impact if they're going to be part of the REC program, unlike, for example, gigantic Hydro-Quebec power dams, that they've come online since 1997, and that the solar generation doesn't come from projects that have been sited in vulnerable natural habitat. Although the state includes biomass as acceptable in Class 1 RECs, Acton has chosen not to include biomass in its renewable sourcing. Class 1 RECs also matter because of what's called additionality. Yes, that's a new word, which they made up in this industry. And that means that opting up to 100% Class 1 renewable electricity builds the demand for renewable generation in our area. The more renewable supply is wanted by the public, the more the market will respond by building more renewable electricity facilities and infrastructure. And the more of that, the cheaper the electricity will become. These features of Class 1 RECs, which few alternate electricity suppliers provide, is why we think APC Green is the best 100% renewable electricity you can buy. Having a zillion choices for electricity is confusing. You've no doubt received snail mail or phone or email solicitations to switch electricity suppliers. And it's challenging to figure out which ones might be good environmental and financial options. Probably some are fine, of course, certainly Acton Power Choice is, but our Attorney General has done a deep dive on electricity supply companies and has concluded that overall, what they offer is not great for consumers, as you can see in the slide. We really recommend the simplicity of Acton Power Choice for many reasons, but a big one is that the vetting has been done for residents, and the state of Massachusetts and the town stand behind the integrity of the supplier. What if I already have solar panels? This question comes up surprisingly frequently, which is great. It means more people are choosing solar. That said, given that we live in New England, where sun can be elusive during certain months of the year, most folks with solar on their roofs or in their yards won't produce more electricity than they consume, at least for part of the year. So APC Green is an excellent choice for the electricity consumption beyond your solar panel production. We hope you'll find that, as we have tried to demonstrate, opting up to APC Green represents great environmental and economic value. This slide shows how to opt up to Green online or by phone. Please consider doing so, and remember to have your Eversource account number handy. If you do opt up to Green, we'd love for you to let us know by emailing Green Acton at info@greenacton.org.
Okay, everyone, thank you for hanging in there through this presentation with us. It will be available soon-ish, I don't have an exact date, on ActonTV's YouTube channel, as Andreas said, and a link to that will be featured on the Green Acton website. If you follow Green Acton on Facebook or Twitter, you'll see notice of the availability of that final iteration of this presentation there as well. And you can, as Andrea said, you can check in the chat for URLs and social media information for both the town and Green Acton. Acton Power Choice Green is the most effective and nearly immediate tool any of us has to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by a lot. We really, really, really hope you'll choose to opt up to APC Green.